Hi guys. It's so good to see you. Thanks everybody who's joining us on the JoyRide show. We are a little bevy of metaphysical moms here on our little spiritual journey around the block. And I can't wait to introduce you guys to Sheri Jacobs. We've been friends for a few years now. And I am so excited to just talk about your journey, your new baby, your book that you've delivered. It's a labor of love.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read your little official bio here just to bring you in. You are a full-time middle school teacher, an award-winning teacher I remember seeing, a professional voiceover artist, commercial theater actress. You're also a public speaker and a comedic storyteller. You do great voices. So we're going to have to hear some of your voices today.
I would be honored.
And you're a published author. You've had 2 books. The first one I remember is called Dream Right, and I have a copy of that book, and it's all about how children can rewrite their dreams to have a positive, a nightmare, to turn it into a positive. Like, what's the message here, and how to empower yourself to turn it into a positive message. And today we're going to be talking all about your new book, The Friendship Diet, how to clean out your fridge, get real with yourself, fill your life with meaningful relationships that last. Amen, sister.
Yeah, that's a long title, but needed. Yeah.
Well, the Friendship Diet, and I read it, and Kerry has her copy there. She's read it, and we have just loved it. And I would say it's a quick read, but it's not, because you have all these places to kind of self-assess and do your own work. And I was like, it's been a while for us to get you on the show, because we've had a series of, it's like Lemony Snicket's series of misfortunate events whatever it is, between COVID and appendectomies and all that. So you're here. We can't wait to talk about you and your book, and just get to know you and introduce you to our Joy Tribe.
I am honored to be your guest to both of you, and to just be present is a gift.
Can I go first?
Please.
So I have to tell you, this book is not, we'll get into hows and the whys of the book. This book is really about patterning and seeing kind of how you got to where you are, whether it's, I think it applies to any relationship, girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, moms, everything. And it has really moved some stuff for me. And I noticed the first night I really dug into it, and I started writing, and because that's how I connect, it affected my dreams. And for some reason I have this dream where Charles and I never make it down the aisle. And I wake up and it's never the same husband. I mean, it's never my husband, but somehow we always break up, and I'm still in that place of, oh my gosh, my life does not look the way I thought it was going to look. And the day I really dug into your book, that night I dreamt that happened. Like, for whatever reason, it didn't work out. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be okay. Okay. So what? And it was the first, and I woke up and it was like, what just happened? And so, and it's like this little gift that keeps on reopening. And I was telling Tiff about it this afternoon in carpool. And anyway, so
the best conversations happen in carpool.
Well, we have 7 boys between us, so that's going to come to a lot. We're boy moms.
Awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah, we're such boy moms. So let's start with your journey, because I mean, your bio exhausts me. Just, you've done so much and you do so much, and how you find that.
Well, and I feel like Sheri is somebody who, I think the word empowerment comes up, because that's somebody who has gone through life's tough lessons, learned the lesson, figured out, navigated a way through, and then you're a teacher at heart. You want to teach people how to do it, and you've done it with this fun, comedic, very approachable, relatable. It's all about food. We all love food. And so we're going to get into that. It's just going to be a fun, wild ride for us here today.
I'm honored again. And part of me is speechless, because everything you're saying speaks to me on so many different levels simultaneously, so that I'm rendered speechless, which is rare for me. I'm like,
well, we're going to talk about it all.
Okay.
So we'll get it going. We'll get it going. Okay. What was your question, Kerry? I'm sorry.
Please remind us. Thank you.
Well, okay. So number one, I feel like I always have to have a framework in which to apply things. Like a theory. Yes. I took an AutoCAD class, and I couldn't make my house just would float in space. I couldn't anchor it. And that is my metaphor. And I have to anchor it. So that's why I love this, because everybody can apply it to food, and everybody has a fridge that needs cleaned out. And everybody has, food that was wonderful and now has, green stuff hanging off of it. And so it is that I love. but this, I guess my question is, okay, let's back up. How did you get here? How did you?
Okay. How did I get the book out? How did it form in my head?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's a
Okay.
big question for so many people. You have an idea, you've gone through something, you figured it out, and then you want to communicate it. So what did you go through that led you to
I love
this?
that question. And I wanted to answer the question you were asking. And it sounds like we're all on this same metaphorical page of so much is going on between the three of us. It's like, okay, so let's get to the bottom. So the bottom is 25 widow, 26 engaged, 27 or 28 married, 29 pregnant, 30 a mom. Yeah.
Wow.
So I never gave myself the time to reflect and to hit the pause button and mourn and feel whatever it was I was feeling. God forbid I go internally. So at the time that I became a widow, my husband took his life. And when that happened, I went right into the world of busyness. That became my MO. I don't have time to think. I'm going to go back. I went back to teaching full time within a week.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, now my life is really off track. You're supposed to, I filled my life with shoulds.
Right.
Well, you should get married. You should. Okay, so the marriage didn't work out. Husband takes his life. I'm going to get this right this time. And so I dug my heels in further. And I met a man who said, I want to take care of you. He said, I just want to put you on a shelf. Well, with my 2020 hindsight, that's a red flag. But when you're 26 and a widow and someone tells you, I want to take care of you.
You're broken. I'm going to take care of you. Yeah.
And when that marriage ended, because I don't want to put the listeners into a coma, and again, going back to what you said, Kerry, this book is a manifestation that can help others in their paths. Maybe they are victims of incest or rape, or maybe they had a physical handicap all their life, or maybe they're afraid to stop their serial affairs or their serial gambling addiction. Maybe they want to be transgender and they haven't come to terms with that, or maybe they are bi and they want to embrace it. Whatever it is, this book is about getting out of your comfort zone, and it's going to be different for everyone, which is why this book is not a prescription. It's a call to action. That's really what this is, and it came from the deep parts of inside of me with a motivation to help others. So when I was divorced, and I experienced, let's see, I've been sued 4 times and I'm being threatened a 5th time. True strength is not measured by how many times you get down, right? We've heard that cliche in one way or another. It's get your butt back up. And I spent so much of my 20s and 30s and even early 40s living to please others that now I'm trying to overcompensate in a way, you could say. Like, no, I have a voice. No, I've always wanted to be a writer. Well, then let me become a writer. I love teaching, but I'm going to be completely candid. If I had a ton of money fall on my lap, I'd be like, see ya, I'm going to be writing and acting all the time. That's it.
And you're very good at it too.
What?
I said, and you're so good at it too. Your vignettes of your reviews and all your different characters are hilarious, my darling.
And I feel like I have to behave because I'm still the teacher, and so I keep it very politically correct. But I don't want to live small, and that doesn't mean I need to have a ton of followers, or I need to have a ton of friends. But I need to feel like I'm making a difference. And whoever's in charge in our universe gave us gifts. And my gifts happen to be writing and acting. And so, gosh darn it, I'm going to use that in the classroom. I'm going to use it on the page, and I'm going to use it on the stage. Nope, didn't mean to rhyme there. But when my ex-husband and I first split, I kept feeling thoughts that manifested in the form of food. Literally, these thoughts would percolate in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts like, I'm starving for love. I'm starving, I'm hungry for company. He left me so bitter. I don't want to be bitter. And I would taste the salty tears, you know. So there was all of this connection, this amalgamation of the physical tasting and the metaphorical spiritual tasting. And I didn't have a plan, except Albert Einstein's quote kept coming back to me. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. So I thought, okay, let's see what happens. And I wrote about it. I have a blog that I keep every week, and every Thursday there's a new one, and people can read about how this manifested just organically. And I think we all have this ability to make connections if we're willing to be open to it, as you both know.
You know, it is, I can't tell you, I mean, just beginning to read it from the cilantro, you know, soap to, I mean, that's why I was dying to talk to you that day. I was like, oh, you know, and I snuck out and
honored. And I was worried about your family. So I was like, no.
And it's, but I was telling Tiffany, I said, you know, it's like, there's something new and I don't know what it is, and it's coming, but it's like this recipe. And I keep trying to make what's coming down the pike out of the ingredients. The new ones haven't come in yet. And that's like when Tiff and I started JoyRide show, it was like all of these wonderful things just came in. So the food, I love that, because that's exactly, you know, I don't know if it's just that we all do that, or if that's just in the air. If you've just brought this, you've just seeded the air with it.
I think it was already there, this analogy. We do it all the time. Oh my God, she's like diabetically sweet. You know how people do like that, you know.
Well, let's dive in, because, you know, we know there's nothing new under the sun, but the way you've packaged this, it makes it very relatable, very easy to digest, very meaty, you know. Okay, we'll go on with the food puns here. So, but okay, so let's start with the cilantro, because I know what you guys are talking about. But for those who haven't read this yet, tell me, what's the bar of soap in the mouth analogy, the cilantro story here, because that's a great example.
Yeah, so for years, I would eat things with cilantro in it and be painfully aware of the taste of soap in my mouth. But God forbid, back then, with my huge self-esteem, would I ever think, oh, wait a second, it tastes like soap, therefore why would I eat it? End of story. Or maybe be curious about why it tastes like soap. But no, I didn't validate myself. I only received validation from external sources. And so whenever I would taste that soapiness, I thought, well, just put up with it. There must be something wrong with you. And well, P.S., I found out that there's this genetic thing that people with very high receptors of whatever genetic algorithm, esoteric quality it's called, I looked it up. Some kind stranger in a Freebirds said, oh yeah, no worries. That's cilantro has that effect on some people with that sensitive receptor. And all of a sudden it was like light bulb. And looking back, I realized, why did I need a stranger to validate my taste buds? Why did I feel the need to eat something that tasted like soap for so many years? Because I was afraid people would perceive me as a diva.
Right. Difficult. Right.
Difficult
Picky.
person, picky. And so I thought that is, again, an analogy for life, especially with women. We live our lives with bars of soap in the mouth, be they Spanx, or ridiculously high heels or whatnot. Look, there's that spectrum, right? You want to feel good about yourself. And so, before the show, I was like, yeah, I'm curling the eyelashes. Yeah. But there's a fine line between curling my eyelashes and sacrificing my happiness for the sake of pleasing others.
But I think that's very difficult to see, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And then you have to either be a doormat and choose to live like that, or you have to like put on your big girl panties and get up and go do something about it. And you're risking a lot when you do that. So that takes a lot of courage.
It does. But it's almost like, I think about my father. He was a smoker. And when he gave it up, now he can't even tolerate the smell of smoking. And that's the way it feels for me. Like, now that I have become this empowered person through Louise Hay and just through years of therapy and through trial and error in this wacky place called life, and maybe it's just getting older. I don't know what the amalgamation is, but the formula ends up manifesting this result in me of like, no, that's who I am.
No big deal.
I can't go back. I'm not going to play small anymore.
No.
So,
and you know what? Like when I go to Carrie's house and I take guacamole, I make her a little side batch without the cilantro. And then I mix in the rest and everybody eats that, and Carrie has her own side dish. So no big deal.
She's friend, always has my back. But
that's why it spoke to you. Yeah.
It does. And it's carrots also. I was wondering if you have this. Raw carrots to me taste like new carpet smells.
No. But I respect it, and that's.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but it is, and it's weird. I was just wondering if that was part of that genetic. So my husband and I've been together for over 20 years, and poor guy. Last night, reading your book, and we have overhead lights, and then we have two sconce lights. And he comes in, and I had the overhead lights on because my eyes are going, I need brighter light, and he turned them off, and I mean, he walked in and just turned it off, and was like, I'm reading. And he said, why don't you turn on the sconce, your side lights? And it's like, because I want those on. And it was, and he's just kind of saying, what just happened? Like, am I in trouble? Because, it's like, oh, yeah.
You spoke up.
You're recognizing the cilantro. It's not always an edible item.
Well, and so then in your book, after that chapter, you'll be like, take a moment, review your life and relationships. Where are you eating soap and not saying anything? And then you have pages to kind of fill out and say, you know what? I'm doing that too, and I don't have to, or let me find ways to get what I need and not feel, empower yourself, right?
Yeah, I want everybody else to feel the way I do, not the exact way, but I want people to have support and to know they're not alone in this place.
Absolutely. Okay, there's some other fun chapters we're going to go through because these are great. These are all like happy meal dating. Tell me about happy meal dating.
That's going for the surface of things. So when I was young, and I talk about this in the book for our listeners, the 1980s, the grand finale of the school week was my mother giving us Happy Meals or Burger King, like the Whopper. And, I had talks with her after that, as a grown woman. And she said, and here's my accent. And she said, oh, please, I was exhausted. What did you want? I just needed to get you something. I didn't want to have to cook another night. But for me, it was amazing. And my sister and I, we sat on opposite ends of the table because my parents went out for dinner, and we played King and Queen. And it was so great. But after there was the heartburn, after I felt sick. And I talk in the book about Morgan Spurlock, the documentarian who did the Super Size Me special. And when you take Happy Meal dating, again, as an analogy to our emotional nutrition and edible nutrition, they work together. It's your body, mind, and spirit. And Morgan Spurlock, after eating only a diet of Happy Meal foods, he ended up developing impotence and heart palpitations, and obviously gaining weight. His concentration was poor. He developed sluggishness, but insomnia. I mean, it was just a horrible litany of side effects. And the fact is, when we live a life from the surface of things, when we Happy Meal our relationships, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And then we wonder why people develop all kinds of
cancer,
autoimmune illnesses, and I mean, disease, as Louise Hay, is the body not being at ease. So we are affected by the things that we do, and also by the things that we think. And if we're not living our truth, it's going to take its toll on the body over time.
And I love that that's how you break down the book, is that you show these things, and it's not that you end there. Then you start giving examples of how to start finding out who you are. And, you know, I used to always say, when people think, well, you just have to love yourself first. Okay, but you just spoke Greek to me. I don't know what that means. I don't. And recently my guides popped in and they were showing me that we all come in separated. And so we learn what love looks like. And to me, maybe it's a jealous husband. How dare you look at my wife like that? In which it's not at all. But that may mean love to me, where Tiff may say, oh my goodness, no, run from that guy. And so it's how but that love is already inside of us. And so it's learning what your specific love is and how you feel it. But you're right, you have to feel it for yourself first, and you have to recognize what that is. But it's sort of like saying, what does your thumb feel like, or what color are your eyeballs? You don't know.
You don't know, which is why when we're in our 20s or, you know, teens, whatever, a lot of times marriages work out great. But I have to say, I think they're very lucky when that happens, because it just happened to be that they were compatible and they grew together. But the majority of the time, I mean, I think there was a stand-up comedian who, and I can't remember who it was, but said, you know, when we're in our 20s and we meet someone, it's like, oh my God, I like the color blue. Me too. We have so much in common. You know, and now when I date at 47, it's more like, okay, so what's your custody schedule? And, you know, it's different. It's different, but I'm seeing who's growing and who's not. I'm much faster. I just went on a date. When did I go? Sunday. Am I tracking off, or it relates to the?
You're good.
Okay. Nice man. Didn't love himself. Did not love himself. He said he had written, I had a great time with you, in a text. I know you're busy. No need to write me back right away. Take your time. I look forward to hearing from you. That was Sunday evening. Monday morning at 7-Eleven, I get a text from him saying, wow, didn't expect to be blown off so soon.
Wow, mixed messages.
Mixed messages. So I wrote him, I'm so sorry to hear you feel that way. I went by your first message that you were giving me the space I needed, and I wish you only the best. He wrote back immediately after and said, can we start over? I didn't mean to. I just didn't want to be pushy. But to me, it was a red flag for me, because if I'm going to be with someone, it's going to be someone who's not so needy.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that reminds me of, I don't know what chapter it is in your book, but it's like, don't go to the grocery store hungry, because you're going to go for the instant fix, the packaging, I need it. So you self-nutrition first, and then you shop. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, I actually just did that yesterday. I'm taking my own advice. I'm very big on, in teaching, they have a phrase, with teaching, it's I do, so I'm modeling for you, we do together, and then you do. So I wrote the book, I'm doing the exercises, and then yesterday after I finished virtual teaching, which is why I probably look 30 years older than I am. I'm still getting used to being online all day. Afterwards, I was ravenous, and it was only about 4 o'clock. So it was probably too early for dinner, but in the past, I would have filled my head with shoulds, but I was cognizant of that. And so I changed my verbiage to myself and said, so you're hungry. So you're hungry. You need to go food shopping, but if you go now, you know what's going to happen. So feed yourself, do what you need to, and then when you're ready, you'll go to the grocery store after. And it was a much better food shop. I made much smarter choices, and it was almost like the universe was winking at me because a woman passed my cart and she said, wow, aren't we eating healthy? Weirdest thing. Like, you can't make that up. I really feel like the universe is always winking at us if we're paying
always sending little messages saying, good job, sister.
Yeah.
That was an I do moment, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
I do the right thing. And so when you apply that to dating, when you're starving, when you're ravenous, you're going for the Happy Meals, you're going for the fast fix, the sugar high, the potato chips, the whatever, the convenience store food.
And we do it. I have a friend who is going through a divorce who shall remain nameless. I'm not even saying what state she's in or what age group because it's so personal. But she, the other night was, she saw my match and she's going through a divorce and she's unhappy. And she said, well, let me see what's out there. I want to see what's out there. And she's like, oh, well, maybe mine isn't so bad. And it's just like, no, it's not. You know, there's that Saturday Night Live skit, Lower Expectations.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
The couple that's like trashes on the beach. And maybe they're 400 pounds each. And they're just saying, find someone, anyone, just find someone.
Oh, it's a dating site parody? Oh, no.
Yes. And it's making fun of the fact, like, if we don't work on ourselves, I rather be, and I make that distinction in the book, there's a significant difference between being alone and being lonely. Mm-hmm. Solitude or being alone. They have different connotations.
Okay, tell us more about that. There's a difference between alone versus lonely. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're alone, it's neutral. It doesn't
mean I'm not worthy and I'm not good enough and I'm not lovable and you're just single.
Yeah, it's not negative or positive. It's neutral. And lonely has a very negative connotation. And that's not to say we don't get lonely. I mean, when my kids are with their dad, and it was before school started, and I had this period of no contact, especially because of COVID, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. I called my mom and I said, if I don't see my kids soon or hug someone soon, I think I'm gonna get a puppy. It's being aware of your feelings and knowing, like, we're human.
Yes.
And so my friend let me borrow her dog, and so the chapter of that book is what was it? A full fridge will help you keep your knickers on. So obviously I wasn't waxing sexual for a dog. I was hungry for companionship. I was hungry to be hugged. I was hungry to hug. I was hungry to love. And that ebbs and flows. It does. And to recognize
it. Fill up your fridge first to keep your knickers on. That's emotionally fulfilling, making good choices. I love this.
It's all like you said, Tiffany. We already know all this. But it's just, sometimes I think it's the teacher in me. you have to have buy-in.
Yeah, you have to break it down and kind of understand it instead of just some concept. You have to understand it and feel it.
Well, and you're stringing it together, so it's not all in one. But you know what? I just watched that movie with Meryl Streep and Alec Baldwin. Yeah, where they get divorced, but then they have an affair.
Oh, yeah.
Or enough or something. But she said that. She said for 10 years, at first I was divorced. And she said, it's taken me 10 years to just be me. I'm not a divorcee. I'm not divorced. I'm single. And I'm just me. I'm no longer wearing the widow or the divorcee or, and I think that does take time. Do you see that like, where are you on that spectrum?
Absolutely. Oh my God. Oh God. I mean, yes. Yes. So when I first divorced, I left my husband. So I was wearing a heavy cloak of guilt. Mm-hmm. Huge cloak of guilt. What is wrong with me? I should have been happy. It wasn't, it's not like he was beating me up. He wasn't an alcoholic. Who does this? Who breaks up a family? I'm disgusting. I went through that period. Then I went through the period of hope for him, hope that he would change. I went through that. Sometimes it's like mourning. It's idiosyncratic at best. And sometimes you have emotions occurring concurrently.
Conflicting emotions, yeah.
Yeah. And then I went through a lot of rage and a lot of victimhood. Why am I being sued so much? Oh. And I can make fun of it because I'm in a healthy place now. But it wasn't funny at the time. It was real. And it was, Tiffany knows. She knows. I had to do a lot of tapping. Tap, tap, tap.
And you did great.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You're a miracle worker.
Oh no, you did it. You know all this. This was just reminding you when you can't see it, it's just reminding you that it's right there.
Oh, she's a godsend, as you know. Tiffany, you really are. What does stand out recently, and I want to write a blog piece about this. I thank my ex-husband. Mm. For years, I would pray to thank him, but I didn't feel it. And that doesn't mean it's like, I thank him for selling me. It's not constant, but it's more consistent. And the reason I thank him is because he has been my biggest teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo.
30,000 foot view. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Every time I thought he would break me, I got back up. And I don't know what is in his mind or whatever. And that's his world. I'm not going to waste energy trying to guess what causes him to want to sue me. He recently threatened to sue me over tooth whitening, whatever. But get the attorney general. I now laugh when I see it, whereas before it was, why? And now I'm in this place of not trying to guess his whys, but trying to live my truth. And it's become like he's like this fly, like, annoying, but not something worth getting.
You've got creative endeavors to partake. Yeah. You're pouring your heart and soul into this teaching. Yeah. It's like Kerry's, it's moving. It's very moving. It's very profound. And it's so relatable. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if that answers your question, Kerry, it has changed.
It more than answers my question, because I think I just remember hearing this story about this woman who her young son was shot. Mm-hmm. And in the courtroom, she forgave the guy that shot him. And I just remember thinking, I don't know how I could do that. And in a sense, that's what's happened, because I think when you forgive, number one, you get the lesson. So the lessons stop, you don't have the need for it. So the universe quits giving it to you. And number two, that's really a heavy purse to carry around. And when you,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
yep, but that's what you're teaching too, which is that's yours, not mine. You know, I mean, I know me, and there you go, buddy. And I mean, and wouldn't it be wonderful? I mean, I know that that's a controlling statement, but because you clearly have let go of what is supposed to be. But at some point, I mean, I look at my parents, and they at Christmas will have everybody over, step parents, stepwives, ex-wives. I mean, and it's great because we're all family still. And but it's
That's beautiful.
get there though, you know, I mean.
Yeah, and he might not ever want to get there. I get the feeling I wronged him, and you know, I broke up the image of a family, and he is entitled to have that perception.
Sure.
I have to let his perception go, and also I you know, if anyone's listening who has OCD, Tiffany, you know, I have that, and I hate to use the phrase habit because it's almost like, okay, let's put that on. She is number 526 with OCD and all. Like, okay. And again, that has been one of my biggest teachers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you've learned how to manage it too. You've learned how powerful of a manifester you are, and how powerful your thoughts can take you on a track, because it's taking you over here. And then by this self-awareness, this redirecting, you've been able to I've seen you do it time and time again.
I've gotten better. I have gotten better. It's a process. Right now I'm in the middle of brain lock. It's a 4-step solution to getting comfortable with the need to check. And what's really been cool is, you know, going back to the man I met on the dating site, you know, at one point really quickly, I had given him my last name, and he said, wow, you're really open. And I'm like, yeah, because I have nothing to hide. Like, this is me. And if you don't like it, or if you want to hurt me in some way, the power for you to hurt me, it only is granted by me.
Yeah.
So you can't hurt me.
No victims here.
No victims here. Yeah. So it's been very freeing because, as you know, Tiffany, JoyRide was written under a pseudonym.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to. I wasn't allowed to publish my book. I also wrote another book. I think you might know that one. Out of the Rabbit Hole.
Oh, I don't know that one, because that's Kerry's kind of her analogy too, her symbolism.
So I'm laying in bed. I mean, I'm laying in the tub, and I'm going to put a pin in that. I'm laying in the tub one night, and it's like, because I thought I needed to write under a pseudonym because my kids are going to high school, and I don't want my crazy to spill over onto them. And they're at Strake, which is a wonderful school, but it's Catholic. And I don't know how this is received. And so I took the alien sticker off the back of my car, you know, the alien dating. And it was, so one night I'm sitting there, I'm like, Alice eats the apple. Views from a garden misfit. I got thrown out of the Garden of Eden. I like that. I mean, it came that fast. And so the Rabbit Hole, that's my whole, you should listen to the opening song. I mean, it's all about
I have to listen to it.
down the rabbit hole. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Well, okay. So my ex-husband used the Out of the Rabbit Hole book to show that I was mentally ill and had OCD. Because of my OCD, I couldn't function as a mother. Okay. Again, I'm able to talk about those wounds because they've healed.
Oh, wow.
And while I don't promote it, because it was from a time in my life that I'm not in anymore, I just want you to know it has helped a lot of people with OCD. And for anyone listening, you're not, if you have OCD, you're not alone. That was written under a different name, Bloom, Sheri Bloom. So Sheri Bloom, Sheri Kiss. I'm really Sheri Jacobs. That's and
is there a website?
Forward will be Jacobs.
It's SheriJacobs.com, or it's Friendship Diet.
Somebody took SheriJacobs.com. I think there's a really renowned psychologist.
Okay, so Sheri-Jacobs.com. So we'll put that link out there.
Yeah.
To find all of this.
But I don't.
Okay, I want one more analogy. I want one thing. You know, the cleaning out the fridge and the stocking of the fridge. I know we talked a little bit about it before, but like that, what's in your kitchen, identifying what is it that you haven't gone in there and pulled out that moldy piece of bread. Like, what is that? And what was that like for you?
So I had to look back on my past relationships and come to terms with the fact that I was a serial monogamist. God forbid you should be on your own. You must always have a man. Always, 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 always. And when I did my own journaling, I came to realize that came from my grandma Sylvia, who from a really young age, she would look at me and go, "What are we going to do with you? You're not a very attractive girl. Maybe if you dyed your hair red, that would look good. But do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a boyfriend?" 12, 13, 14, 15. Every time she came over, "Do I have a boyfriend?" And if I said no, "What are we going to do with you?" Because self-esteem was connected with having a man. And I don't blame her.
No, I know, but
it's
that messaging that is just like shaking the head, like, what are we going to do with you if you don't have a boyfriend? And that from your grandmother that you love and adore.
You're not complete without a man.
You're not complete without a man. And so when I went to, when I was looking at colleges, my grandmother was encouraging me which college to go to based on the men. And I went to the school she recommended. And I did. I went from one to another, to another, to another. It didn't matter if I liked him or not. I always had to have fun.
Yes, you had a boyfriend.
And my worth was connected to, does he like me? And I listened to a TED Talk, and I wrote a blog piece about it because it's so profound, especially for women. And I forgot the name of the woman, but she said, for the first time in my life on a date, I asked myself, how does he make me feel? As opposed to, I hope he likes me. How do you feel when you are in that person's company? And the reason it's called the friendship diet is it's not just romantic relationships. How do you feel when you're with your sister? How do you feel when you're with your coworkers, your colleagues? How do you feel? Tune into yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because we, like the sun and clouds, we bring ourselves with us.
You bring your weather with you, yeah.
Yeah.
But my mother-in-law today, when I was driving her back, we were having this kind of talk, and I was always told the same thing. I was always, you need a man, you need a man, you need a man. Kerry, you're gonna be a great number 2. You'll be a great woman behind the man. I bought that. That is the system that is currently running still. And it is, and I happen to be married to a man that's wonderful. Mm-hmm. He really is. And the but here is that system is still there. It's still a pleasing. I want to please. And you're right. I mean, I read that in your book, and it truly, I think there's so many of us. And anyway, I was telling Charles's mom this, and she's like, oh, that's just horrific. And she's like, that must be South. That must be a Southern thing. And it's like, I don't think so. I don't know if it's a time thing. I don't know if it's we didn't have as many options 50 years ago. So that's where that mindset came into play. But that is a pretty toxic mindset. And by the way, I bought your book also to give to my niece who's 23. And
I'm honored. Thank you, Kerry.
Oh, you're welcome. I just think that this could also help women going forward, because you're right. It's, do they pick me versus do I pick him? Do I want to be with him? Yeah. He may have.
We weren't taught this. We weren't taught it. And I don't think it's a northern or a southern thing. I think it's a systemic thing. We talk about, racism is a systemic issue. It is. Mm-hmm. Well, this is too. Mm-hmm. Our society.
Well, the crux of the whole thing, you say that it's really the relationship. The most important relationship is the one that you have with yourself. Yeah. And so by cleaning out your fridge, stocking yourself with nutrition, understanding where you're coming from, what your bars of soap are, it just helps you be you. So when you show up in these relationships all across the board, you're the most authentic you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can give the best part of you and receive, you know, it's more equal. There's no victim or pleasing.
No.
And, it's complicated though, isn't it? It's complicated, but I love how it just helps start this conversation in a very approachable, easy to understand way.
I'm glad. And they say that what we have physically in our lives reflects back with us what is happening with us internally.
Yes.
You know, like if your home is a mess, chances are you're probably all over the place too. And we do ignore the moldy cheese, whatever that metaphor is.
I like banana metaphor
for everybody.
Monkey drops her banana that she's been eating. No, but I think that it's time. Well, it's time. It is. I think that we've gone from a patriarchal society, and I'm not at all man. I think that it's an ebb and flow, and I think there are things my husband does much better than I do.
Yeah.
And there are things I'm much better at than he is. And I don't know. Anyway, so I just think that we are coming to this, and to have a map, or at least some sort of a framework that's fun, it's digestible, it's interesting. I mean, I can kind of see groups starting to form around this, women supporting women. And I think, so tell me about that. Or do you have any, like if someone wants to reach out to you, are you working with people? Can you guide them?
I would be honored to give a talk or to host a group. I'm really open to anything that helps promote independent-minded thinking and mutual respect among all genders. And I say all genders.
Right, not just women.
No.
And this isn't for single only. I mean, if you're in the middle of a marriage and you're feeling unfulfilled, I mean, you can apply all these techniques to kind of clean out your own stuff and ask for what you need. I mean, you see it for everybody, right?
For widows as well. I mean, people, because I was a widow, I know, and I wish this book had been around when I was a young widow. This is for someone who has a great marriage and just wants, like you do, you know, and you just want, oh yeah, I didn't think of it like that. And maybe I did. Yeah, let's get out of our comfort zone. Every Friday, let's try something new that we've never done before.
I love that.
Absolutely. I got so many ahas out of reading this. The buffet line myth, how to make your own fortune cookie, Diet Coke denial. I mean, all of these. I wish we had hours to talk about this.
Oh, thank you.
While you'll never starve on the friendship diet. Okay, I want to talk about that. Why you'll never starve.
You can't starve when you know your own hunger. When you know what matters to you, you're not going to starve.
Whether you're in or out or coming or going of relationships. Right.
I'm excited. I met someone on a dating site yesterday, a couple of days ago, and we've been writing back and forth, and I like the way he sounds. But unlike my 20s, I'm not going to put all my eggs in the basket.
Yeah.
I'm going to, okay, let's see, you know, and when there's red flags, like with the other guy that I went out with, there were red flags. We were on the phone on Saturday night and it got to be 1 a.m. And I said, it's really late. I'm going to get going. And he said, oh my God, have I kept you too long? You don't want to be with me? That's a red flag because of the sensation it creates in my body. And when you were both talking in the beginning, what one person loves, another person doesn't. So it's cilantro for the soul. So that made me feel, you know, someone else would say, oh my God, he's so considerate. He's so into you. I say, I need more time, which is why I go back to why the coffee date. It's the great litmus test. It's, you know, the great equalizer. You can be a plumber and you can be a neurosurgeon and you can meet and not have to worry about who's paying and all the other stuff, and just get to know them without the fanfare of, you know, fajitas or, you know, sometimes
wine.
You get thrown off by those accoutrements. And when we keep in mind that the greatest source of sustenance is always going to be found in ourselves, then you can't starve because there's a rich terrain of nutrients found in you. It's like what Dorothy said, or no, it wasn't Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Who said that? There's no place, home was always inside of you. You just had to click your heels 3 times. Yeah.
That's Linda the Good Witch.
Linda the Good, you
always had the power, my dear, to go home. And don't you think that COVID, this quarantine time where we're isolated, don't you think this is the perfect time to be doing this self-reflection? I mean, you are face to face with the ones you can't, I mean, I don't know what it's like to date during COVID time. It's got to be a completely different ball of wax. So don't you think this is the perfect time to be doing this kind of work?
I think Mother Nature, regardless of why this happened, how it happened, there is always a silver lining to be found. And one of them is this pandemic is forcing us to get out of our comfort zones.
Yeah.
And once you're already out, it's like when you don't sleep well, you got to get up out of bed. Well, you might as well do something.
Yeah.
Well, you might as well try
Clean
something new, because we can't. Like, I didn't know how to Zoom 6 months ago. I'd be like, what? But now it's second nature, and you get to learn a lot about someone. When I went on the date with that guy, I said, well, why don't we go for a walk? And he thought that was so foreign, which tells me something about him.
Right.
Yeah.
I said, it's a pandemic. Oh, well, we could go bowling. No, I have an asthmatic son. We are not going bowling.
Yeah.
So people's personalities manifest regardless of the circumstances, but I think they're even more heightened with the pandemic, and it's forcing us to slow down the dating process.
See, but I think that this kind of goes back to what you had just said also. I think that not to jump, and I think maybe we do this and we don't even know we do it, where you jump ahead. Ooh, can I see buying a house with this person? You've been on one date. Or could I see, it's sort of like when you look at houses and you're like, could I live here? I mean, you really do have to go in and wonder if you can live there. And so it really does slow your roll so you get to know them and you don't fill in the blanks. He likes dogs, therefore he's going to be a great dad.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. It's like the 4 agreements. Those assumptions are going to be the death of us.
Oh, aren't they though? But this applies to girlfriends too, right? This applies to just the same friendships that you have across the board. We're talking a lot about dating here.
I cleaned out my fridge with 2 girlfriends who I really cared about, but they were cheating on their spouses. And
it's tough.
I couldn't break bread. I came up with a quote recently. Never break bread with someone who's breaking your heart. And I think, it just broke my heart to sit and eat dinners with the husbands who had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
A co-conspirator.
On the secret. Yeah, that doesn't, it doesn't feel good. And that's something that I think that what I have found is on my path, and I think Tiffany, we've talked a lot about this, is that as you grow and as you become authentically you, people will fall away. They just will. And because you're not energetically vibrational, you don't go together. And so, but what it does is it allows room for the people that are energetically your match at that time. And we're all sort of at the bus stop together, and some of us go that way and some of us go that way. And, it's not personal. It's just, it just is what it is. So it does free up. And now we're all friends. There you go.
I love it. I love both of you. And you're like glowing. I just want you to know. Isn't she glowing?
It's my dad. He's lit from the inside.
I love you for that, but it's my tile and the sun is like bouncing off the tile. So I'm not really glowing.
Yes, you are. Just take it. Yes, I am. Yes, I am glowing.
I have contemplated creating a friendship diet for the teeny boppers out there, just throwing it out into the universe, because I work with teenagers and so often I see, not now with the pandemic, I'm talking when I was in a brick and mortar classroom. I can't think. He broke up with me, or and it's.
And this is middle school. This is middle school you teach.
School.
Yeah.
they live and die. It's like a TV novella. And
Yeah.
the one constant is, let me put all of my emotional eggs in control of someone in someone else's basket. And if we can teach these young people, young men and women, a different.
Don't give me that power. Yeah.
Yeah, when you have loved as a kid, to know, like, I don't know, maybe they don't know, but they do need it. I just don't know how to reach them in terms of a book. I can reach them when I talk to them, but I don't know how much.
But you come across so lighthearted and funny and relevant. You will find a way. You talk their language. You'll do it. I think that's a fabulous idea.
I will take you one step beyond that. I feel like we make decisions based on peer pressure, not knowing ourselves, 16, 17, 15, 14, and then we define ourselves by that. So then we go into our early adulthood, and this is what I deserve because I'm really kind of not worth it. You know, I'm not worth the great guy. I am worth, or the great me. I mean, to even take the guy out of the equation, I am not worth it. So instead of saying, oh my gosh, just, figure out what lights you up. What's your passion? What do you want to do? But he's so cute and he didn't call me. And it's like, oh, no, come on, let's go. And I know your little brains aren't, they mature.
Right. It's not there yet.
I'm telling my kids, you're not married until you're at least 30 because your brain's not developed until you're 27-ish. Come on, man. I mean, remember Thomas the Train? You loved him. Do you really want him tattooed on your arm? No. So we've had these talks. And so I think that is so paramount. And because if they can clear out the clutter, and then once you do start having sex, then you're worried about, you're getting an STD, you're not going to chick up. I mean, what's going on? And keep life simple. So anyway, so I am all for that. And any way I can help with that. My passion is younger.
Maybe if you want to write the book together, I'm open to it because
I would love that.
I would love that opportunity with you. Absolutely. I'm free in the summers when I'm off from school. Summers and Christmas breaks. I'm at this point, you remember that show with Jim Carrey, that movie, Yes Man? That's where I am. Like, yes, I have OCD. Yes, I'm fighting it. I'm trying my best. Yes. I wrote a book, 3 different names. I have more last names than Liz Taylor. Yes. Yes, I work with middle schoolers, but yes, I would not work with middle schoolers if I could write books and present for a living. Yes.
Yes, I love
it. Well, you are a master manifester, so this is all coming. So choose. I love the vibration of all of this. I love the feeling and the fun that you have with it, the characters, the voices, all the experience that you've pulled from all the different things that you've been up to.
Thank you.
I see it very clearly coming down the line for you.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. And on that note, I do want to add to anyone listening, there will be naysayers. And if you're getting inspired by this conversation, there will be naysayers, and it's up to you to go within, because I've had so many people come to me and say, I think you might be offending people with the videos. And it's like, okay, well, I offend people. My intention wasn't, and I'm going to just keep being me. So whatever it is that you might want to pursue, it's too expensive, or it's too hard, or don't let that stop you from pursuing your love. If you're listening, please.
Amen.
Your videos, you guys have to check out her videos. They are so funny. I mean, she gives, she's in labor, she's a babushka. This is the way you feel. And that's so funny.
I have a German coming up, and someone said, but you'll offend the Germans. I'm like, I'm a Jew. Like, come on. I
had someone that was doing a podcast that said, I'm so afraid of offending. And it's like, you've got to stop that, because you can't please everybody, and you will attract the people that need you. So you can't. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to do more of them. Thank you. Because
they're very fun and entertaining. They really are.
Binge watched them because they just cracked me up. And then I sent them to Tiff, and she'd already seen them. And then, so
I'll do more then. Yeah. Cause I've had people say, just be yourself. But that is being myself. That is
you. Yes.
Look, I mean.
And it's funny, when I read the book, I read it in your voice. I can totally hear you doing all the characters and the banana, the monkey. I can hear all of it. And I can hear it in your voice.
Thank you. I'm honored, really. I'm so grateful, really.
You speak to us again.
What?
I said she's speechless again.
I'm speechless again. We came full circle, girls.
Okay, so how do they find you? How do people find you?
Oh, right. Marketing is something I like creating, and then I forget how to share. Okay, so you can find me at Sheri, SHERI hyphen Jacob, JACOBS. Everything okay?
.com. Yep.
Did we?
And my book's on Amazon, and it's on, where else is it? Barnes & Noble. You could find me on Instagram at Sheri Jacobs Author. I'm on LinkedIn.
She can find you. We'll find you. And we'll put the links.
And on my YouTube channel, The Friendship Diet, I have a comedy channel. So I'll be aggregating more over time.
Love it. Well, congratulations on writing the book. And but wait, there's more.
There's more. I auditioned for Houston ISD's TV teachers. They had open casting to be a teacher on TV, and I got cast. So every week you can see me teach middle school reading for 30 minutes every Monday.
Where do we see that?
It's on Fox 26. And it's also on like channel 11, I think it is. Univision it's on. I'm trying to think. 25 teachers were cast out of the whole HISD district, and they teach different subjects K through 8 for supplemental learning for students who are affected by the pandemic.
That's so cool.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome. I'm still not surprised.
Yeah.
Have you recorded them? Have you been doing them so far? You just started.
No, I'm about when we get off today, I'm recording my 4th lesson.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've become like the guru with Zoom and I have to be all teachery. I'd
love to see that.
Yeah.
Feeling it's
so put on her teacher hat. All right.
Hello, boys.
Well, congratulations again on the book. Sheri Jacobs, author of The Friendship Diet, my friend and metaphysical mom. We're so grateful to have you on today on the JoyRide show, and wish you all the best. And for anybody who's interested, get a hold of Sheri and have her kibitz talk about all this. It's fun.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to go on and talk to different age groups and whatever you can think of. Happy.
Fantastic. Well, awesome. And thank you again. And it was so nice to meet you finally.
Very nice to meet you. And you really are glowing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I don't want to sign off, but I know we do. I know you have to record and somebody has carpool and I have to go make dinner. But
thank you. Bye guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Have a great week.
You walking towards me, but my feet won't move.